Imagine a rule so sacred, so absolute, that even the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy dared not break it. A rule older than some stars. A rule that had no logical explanation, only warnings passed down through millennia. Do not wake the humans. But why? They were fragile creatures, barely capable of interstellar travel before they vanished. No advanced weapons, no massive fleets, and yet, every species in the galaxy lived in silent fear of them. Why? No one knew, and when one reckless scientist broke the rule, the answer would shake the entire universe. The Zelians were, by all definitions, the pinnacle of evolution, crystalline beings of pure energy and intellect. They had mastered quantum mechanics before most species had figured out basic arithmetic. Their cities, floating in the luminous clouds of their homeworld, shimmered with an eternal glow, reflecting the power of a civilization that feared nothing except for one thing. Humans. It wasn't because of war. Humans had never fought the Zelians. In fact, before they disappeared, humanity had barely interacted with the galactic community at all. Yet, an ancient rule had been carved into the very foundation of interstellar law. Let them sleep. Do not wake them, ever. No one knew where the rule originated. The archives were filled with conflicting theories. Some said humans possessed unfathomable power that could reshape reality itself. Others whispered that they were cosmic tricksters, capable of unraveling civilizations with mere words. The most terrifying theory? That humans had put themselves to sleep, not because they had to, but because they wanted to. And that begged the question, what happens when they wake up? No one wanted to find out. Until someone did. Zeyth was a brilliant but cautious scientist. His crystalline body, smooth and symmetrical, glowed with the soft blue hue of deep contemplation. He believed in protocol, research, and above all else, playing it safe. His job was simple: study, document, never interfere. And then there was Zix. If Zeyth was a careful scientist, Zix was the opposite, a young researcher with too much ambition and too little patience. Zix had one obsession: humans. Their biology was strange. Their history was chaotic. Their technology was full of anomalies that made no sense. Zix had read every scrap of data available on them. The problem? There was never enough. No one studied humans. They were a forbidden subject. The rule was absolute, which is why Zix decided to break it. And that was how everything went to hell. It started with a simple idea. We don't have to touch the human ship. Zix argued. Just a probe. A non-invasive scan. Purely observational. Zeyth hesitated. It's against protocol. Zix. The rule exists for a reason. But no one knows the reason. Zix's crystalline form pulsed with frustration. What if it's just superstition? That was his mistake. Because when the probe activated, something woke up. At first, it was just a low hum, an energy signature they couldn't explain. Then, the entire human ship powered on. Warning lights flashed. Ancient systems, dormant for centuries, began to boot up with terrifying efficiency. And then, across every known galactic frequency, a message, spoken in a language that hadn't been heard in over 1,000 years, rang out. Who dares disturb our slumber? Emergency transmissions flooded the galactic network. Within minutes, the Zelian High Command declared a code ultraviolet, the highest level of crisis. Warships mobilized. A containment fleet surrounded the human vessel, and the Supreme Commander Christos, the most feared military leader in the galaxy, personally arrived to deal with the crisis. Christos' crystalline form, deep purple with age and wisdom, vibrated with barely contained fury as he interrogated Zeyth and Zix. You absolute neutron stars for brains. Christos growled, using an insult so ancient it predated interstellar travel. Do you have any idea what you've done? Zeyth had no answer. Zix, for the first time in his life, was completely silent. But Christos wasn't just furious about the galactic catastrophe. Because deep in the human database, he had found a name he never thought he'd see again. Heartbreak. Before humans had disappeared into cryosleep, Christos had known one human, Admiral Sophia Reyes, a warrior, a leader, and the only human who had ever truly understood him. They had fought side by side in a war that history had long since erased. She had saved his life once. He had almost told her how he felt. And then, before he could, she disappeared, gone with the rest of humanity. Now, she was back, somewhere on that massive colony ship. Sophia Reyes was still asleep. Christos stared at her name in the records, his usually cold and logical mind racing with memories he thought he had buried long ago. He turned to his officers. Find her, immediately, because if humanity had truly awakened, then Sophia was waking up too. And for the first time in centuries, Christos felt something he had never felt before. Fear. As the human ship continued to reactivate, something changed in the universe. The balance of power was shifting. The greatest secret in the galaxy was unraveling. And humanity was waking up. Scythe, Zix, and Christos had no idea what was coming next. All they knew was that the rule had been broken. And now, there was no going back. A long dormant starship, untouched for centuries, suddenly roars to life. Emergency alerts flood the galaxy. Code ultraviolet. Human awakening detected. The balance of the universe has been shattered. Every space-faring civilization had lived under one unbreakable rule. Do not wake the humans. And yet, in a single reckless moment, that rule had been broken. Now, the galaxy watched in horror. What would happen next? Deep in the cold void of space, the ancient human colony ship hummed with new life. Cryogenic systems rebooted, pods unlocked one by one. Automated voices whispered in the dark. Reanimation sequence initiated. Welcome back, humanity. Inside the ship, millions of human minds flickered to consciousness. The first sensation they felt? Pain. Hibernation sickness clawed at their bodies. Their limbs were weak, their heads pounding, their mouths dry, their stomachs empty, and worst of all, there was no coffee. The first human voice heard in centuries was a groggy complaint. Why the hell do I feel like I got hit by a spaceship? As more humans woke up, confusion turned to frustration. Then frustration turned to outrage. And soon, an angry mob of sleep-deprived humans was marching toward the ship's control center. Across the stars, the news spread like wildfire. Humanity has awakened. The response? Absolute chaos. Diplomats panicked. Generals debated preemptive strikes. Entire civilizations froze in terror. Some species, believing humanity to be a cosmic horror, immediately evacuated entire planets. Others tried to surrender to humanity before they even did anything. And then there were the Zelians, the species that had spent millennia enforcing the "do not wake humans" rule. Now, they had no idea what to do. And at the center of it all was Scythe and Zix, the scientists responsible for this disaster. Supreme Commander Christos stood before Scythe and Zix, his crystalline form dark with anger. His voice, usually controlled and precise, shook with fury. Do you have any idea what you've done? Scythe tried to explain. Zix, however, was too busy vibrating with excitement. It's incredible, Zix blurted out. The human cryosleep systems, far beyond anything we've ever seen. Their reanimation process defies all known. Silence, Christos roared. The room trembled. For the first time in his life, Scythe felt fear, but there was something else in Christos' expression. Beneath the fury, beneath the panic, there was a shadow of something deeper. Longing. Because deep in the human database, Christos had found her name. For centuries, Christos had believed her lost. Admiral Sophia Reyes, the one human who had ever truly understood him. Now, against all logic, she was alive, still in cryosleep, somewhere on the massive colony ship. He knew he shouldn't care. He knew there were larger matters at hand. But as his crystalline fingers hovered over her name, he hesitated. His mind flashed back to their last conversation, before humanity vanished. Sophia, smirking at him across a battlefield, saving his life without hesitation. I always thought you'd be the death of me. Reyes, her laugh. You wish, Christos. And then she was gone. Now, after centuries, she was within reach, and for the first time in his life, Christos didn't know what to do. Meanwhile, Zix had a completely different problem. Dr. Evelyn Carter, one of the first humans to wake up. She was brilliant, sharp-witted, and the first thing she did after waking up? She winked at Zix. Hey there, Glowstick, you single? Zix malfunctioned. His crystalline body short-circuited. His glowing appendages turned bright pink. He was experiencing a phenomenon he had only read about in human literature. Flirting. Evelyn smirked. "Oh my God, you're blushing." Zix panicked. "I am experiencing a system malfunction. Please excuse me." He turned and ran into a wall. Evelyn burst into laughter. Zyth, watching nearby, shook his head. "We're all doomed." Back on the human ship, the situation boiled over. With millions of people fully awake and pissed off, tensions were high. The ship's intercom crackled. Then, a voice boomed across the galaxy. A voice that sent chills through every species that heard it. "Attention, galactic community. We are humanity, and we have questions." In that moment, the entire universe held its breath. Because after centuries of silence, humanity had returned, and nothing would ever be the same again. The galaxy braced for what came next. Zyth and Zix prepared for the consequences of their actions. Christos stood frozen, torn between duty and the one person he had lost. Zix, now completely flustered, tried to avoid eye contact with the smirking Dr. Carter. And across the stars, one simple truth echoed in every mind. Humanity had awakened, and they were not happy. First contact with a newly awakened civilization is one of the most delicate moments in galactic diplomacy. A species could either rise to prominence or declare war. The Galactic Alliance had handled thousands of these encounters, resolving wars, negotiating peace, and even preventing planetary-scale disasters. But nothing, absolutely nothing, could have prepared them for this. Aliens were terrified, humans were irritable, and worst of all, there was no coffee. This is the story of the greatest diplomatic disaster in galactic history. The Zelian Diplomatic Corps was legendary for handling interspecies relations with precision and grace. And at its helm was Ambassador Crystal, a master negotiator, a seasoned strategist, and a being so polished that her crystalline form refracted light in the exact mathematically perfect way to be considered universally beautiful across 16 different species. She had prevented wars, negotiated peace between mortal enemies, and even convinced an entire hive mind species that turning the galaxy into paperclips was a bad idea. She was the best, which is why she was the unfortunate soul assigned to handle the human crisis. As her diplomatic vessel docked onto the now fully awakened human colony ship, she prepared for every possibility. Were humans angry? She would calm them. Were they disoriented? She would guide them. Were they vengeful? She would appease them. What she did not prepare for was caffeine withdrawal. As the Zelian diplomats entered the human ship, they found themselves face to face with a delegation of humans. But these weren't official representatives. They were just people. People in pajamas. People with messy hair. People holding empty mugs and looking dangerously close to committing crimes. The human leader, a woman with dark circles under her eyes and a mug clutched tightly in her hands, stared at Ambassador Crystal. "You're the aliens that woke us up?" she asked in a hoarse, sleep-deprived voice. Crystal, ever the professional, bowed gracefully. "On behalf of the Galactic Alliance, we extend our deepest." "Where's the coffee?" Crystal hesitated. "The what?" Murmurs of panic spread through the human crowd. No, 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 you don't understand. We can't function without it." "Did the replicators survive?" "Check the emergency rations." A scientist checked the system logs, then paled. "Our stockpiles, they expired centuries ago." Silence fell. Then, outrage erupted. "Are you telling me we've been asleep for hundreds of years, and there's no coffee left in the universe?" One particularly tall man screamed into the void. Crystal felt her pristine diplomatic confidence begin to shatter. Surely, there must be some alternative?" she offered, attempting to salvage the situation. A human laughed bitterly. "Alternative? You think we can just replace coffee? That's like saying we can replace air." Crystal's diplomatic instincts kicked in. "Then, we shall dedicate the full resources of the Galactic Alliance to finding you coffee." The humans stared at her. Then, in perfect unison, they all nodded. "That is acceptable." Crystal exhaled. Crisis averted. Or so she thought. Because then, the pizza incident happened. During a routine check of historical data, one human stumbled upon a horrifying discovery. Their favorite food, pizza, had gone extinct centuries ago. And this, more than anything, broke them. One man actually cried. "It's gone," he whispered. "No more pepperoni. No more melty cheese. No more perfectly crisp crust." A woman clutched his arm. "We'll get through this. We have to stay strong." Another human slammed his fist against a console. "I swear on humanity, we will bring pizza back." Crystal had never witnessed such unrestrained passion. To her horror, the humans immediately formed a committee. And thus, the Galactic Pizza Restoration Project was born. The galaxy would never be the same. Meanwhile, the Thien Ha Union, the ruling body of the galactic community, was in full crisis mode. They didn't know what humanity would do next. Will they seek revenge? Should we offer reparations? Should we just run? In the end, they decided to offer everything. Globe planets, flying saucer ships, moneybag unlimited resources, anything to keep humanity happy. And humanity? They just wanted coffee, pizza, and working Wi-Fi. Zix versus Evelyn, the science of flirting. Zix was still malfunctioning from his last encounter with Dr. Evelyn Carter. And she knew it. She took every opportunity to tease him. "So, Zix, do all Zelian scientists glow when they're flustered? Or is that just you?" Zix vibrated in panic. "I do not understand this question." Evelyn grinned. "Adorable." After hours of searching, Christos finally found her. Sophia Reyes, still asleep, her cryogenic pod bathed in a soft blue glow. He took a breath. "Activate reanimation sequence." The pod hissed open. For the first time in centuries, Sophia stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, adjusting to the dim light. She blinked, looked up at him, and then, "Who the hell are you?" Christos froze. She didn't remember him. His heart, his cold, logical crystalline heart, shattered. Humans were fully awake. The coffee crisis had begun. Pizza was declared a priority research project. Flirting between species was becoming a problem. And across the galaxy, every species had the same terrifying realization. Humanity wasn't angry. They were annoyed. And an annoyed humanity was far more dangerous than an enraged one. Because they weren't here to destroy the galaxy. They were here to fix it. And no one was ready for that. They had been asleep for centuries. The galaxy had feared them. The galaxy had tried to contain them. The galaxy was not prepared for what came next. Because humans weren't just awake now. They were taking over. They demanded representation. They reshaped interstellar culture. And they introduced something that no alien mind could comprehend. Memes. And that was when everything truly descended into madness. The Galactic Council was in full crisis mode. For millennia, they had governed the stars without human interference. Now, newly awakened and slightly annoyed, humanity had one demand. If we're part of the galaxy, we want a voice in how it's run. This was not what the Council wanted to hear. You were asleep. You voluntarily removed yourselves from politics. We thought you just wanted coffee and pizza. Humanity's response? Yeah, well, we're back now. Deal with it. The great representation debate had begun. Meanwhile, something strange was happening across the galaxy. Younger generations of aliens, who had never known humanity firsthand, began to idolize them. They read human history like it was a holy text. They devoured ancient Earth entertainment. Some even formed fan clubs. Humans are legendary. They figured out faster than light travel before we figured out fire. Have you seen their movies? Their storytelling is unmatched. They turned war into a game and called it paintball. Paintball. Some alien youth began dressing like humans. Others started mimicking human speech patterns. And one particularly passionate group began calling themselves the followers of the Chaos Doctrine. Because to them, humans weren't just a species. They were a way of life. Then, it happened. Humanity introduced memes to the galaxy. And alien civilization collapsed. Their humor, it makes no sense. How is this funny? What is a doge? Entire species, known for their rigid logic and reason, were driven to existential crisis trying to comprehend humanity's absurdist humor. And then came the first meme war. Young aliens, inspired by humanity, fought back against their elders using memes. Serious political debates were derailed by perfectly timed reaction images. Galactic law was nearly rewritten because of a single viral joke. The Galactic Council, in full-blown panic, declared, "Memes are a threat to interstellar order." Humanity's response? Sounds like someone's mad they got ratioed. The first galaxy-wide meme war had begun. While the galaxy descended into cultural chaos, Christos had bigger problems. Sophia still didn't remember him. But fragments of memory were returning. One night, as they stood on the observation deck, watching the stars drift by, she turned to him. "I remember pieces now." Christos remained silent. "I remember a battle, I remember a war, and I remember you." His crystalline body shimmered faintly. "And?" he asked. Sophia smiled. "And I remember thinking you were an insufferable ass." For the first time in centuries, Christos laughed. But their reunion was not without obstacles. Political factions across the galaxy opposed their relationship. A Supreme Commander involved with a human? It's a conflict of interest. You are violating diplomatic boundaries. This could shift the balance of power. Christos didn't care. Sophia didn't care. They had spent centuries apart. And now that they were together again, they weren't about to let politics get in the way. Meanwhile, Zix had no idea he was on a date. Evelyn had invited him to study human culture together. Zix, being a purely logical scientist, assumed this meant an academic discussion. It wasn't until midway through the evening, while sitting across from her at a dimly lit restaurant, that he finally realized, wait, this is a romantic outing? Evelyn, sipping her drink, smirked. Took you long enough. Glowstick. Zix froze. His crystalline form flickered violently as his brain overloaded with data. Error. Emotional subroutine compromised. Evelyn laughed. Relax. Just enjoy yourself. For the first time in his entire existence, Zix tried to shut off his scientific mind, and just felt something. The Galactic Council struggled to control the chaos. Young aliens worshipped humans as cultural icons. Memes reshaped entire civilizations. Romance between species defied political expectations. And then, the final shock came. Humanity was officially granted representation in the Galactic Council. For the first time in history, humans had a voice in shaping the future of the universe. And they were about to make things even more interesting. The Galactic Council was still recovering from the chaos humanity had introduced. Aliens were still trying to comprehend memes. Intergalactic politics were in shambles. And now, the universe faced an even greater crisis. A love triangle. One human. One terrifying void crawler. One highly logical Zelian diplomat. One of them wanted Alex as a battle partner. One of them wanted Alex because of an algorithmic compatibility analysis. And Alex? Alex had no idea what was happening. Lieutenant Alex Morgan was a simple man. All he wanted in life was to serve humanity with honor, to explore the universe, to survive without major diplomatic incidents. Unfortunately, that last part was about to become impossible. Because somehow, without realizing it, Alex had become the center of an interspecies love triangle. The void crawlers were one of the most feared species in the galaxy. They were massive, standing 7 feet tall, covered in chitinous armor, with glowing bioluminescent eyes. They were terrifyingly strong, capable of ripping apart a battleship hull with their claws. Their mating rituals? A mystery to all but their own kind. But for some unknown reason, Vera, the most feared void crawler warrior in the fleet, was obsessed with Alex. It had started when he saved her life in battle, purely by accident. Since then, she had declared him her chosen battle partner. What did that mean? No one knew, including Alex. The Zelians prided themselves on pure logic, efficiency, and order, and Lumos was one of the best diplomats in the galaxy. So when he realized that he had romantic interest in Alex, he did what any good Zelian would do. He ran a full compatibility analysis. Results: 98.76% compatibility. Conclusion: he and Alex were the most logically compatible partners in the galaxy. Therefore, by all reasonable, mathematical, and scientific measures, Alex should choose him. So naturally, he decided to win Alex's affections in the most methodical way possible. And Vera? She took one look at Lumos' scientific approach, and decided it was a challenge. Vera demonstrated her strength by smashing a training bot in half. Lumos countered by calculating the probability of Alex's happiness in a relationship with him, 98.76%. Vera declared probability was irrelevant and instead presented Alex with the skull of a defeated enemy. One Lumos gifted Alex a list of carefully curated facts about his ideal mate qualities. Alex, oblivious, just assumed they were being friendly. His fellow humans, however, they knew exactly what was happening, and they were having the time of their lives watching the disaster unfold. Everything came to a head during the first Galactic karaoke competition, a massive event held aboard a neutral diplomatic station. Aliens and humans alike competed in vocal performances. Cultures clashed over music styles. The Void Crawlers turned out to be excellent at death metal. And right in the middle of it all, the final showdown. Vera and Lumos both entered the competition. Both chose to dedicate their performances to Alex. Neither told Alex this, and that was when Alex finally realized the truth. Vera took the stage first. Her song? A war chant from her species, traditionally sung before choosing a mate. The lyrics were aggressive. The message was clear. The entire room was terrified. But Alex? He just clapped. That was passionate. Then came Lumos. His song? A mathematically optimized love ballad, scientifically proven to be the most effective in human romantic traditions. It was so perfectly balanced between sentiment and logic that it felt completely robotic. But then Alex saw the screen behind him. Statistical probability of Alex Morgan falling in love, 98.76%. Alex's brain short-circuited. Wait, hold on, are you both trying to date me? Silence. Vera stared at him. Lumos blinked. The entire room held its breath. And then an entire section of humans burst out laughing. He just realized. Alex sat in the bar, head in his hands. His fellow humans? Loving every second of the disaster. Dude, how did you not notice? The skull gift didn't tip you off. How do you even pick between a death queen and a logic nerd? Alex groaned. Then, he turned to Vera and Lumos. Look, guys, I appreciate whatever this is, but I'm just a simple soldier. Lumos nodded. Understood. I will recalculate my approach. Vera grinned. A battle worth fighting. Then, Alex blinked. Wait, what? The competition wasn't over. It was just getting started. And the entire galaxy was now watching. The galaxy was already struggling with human means. Now, it had to deal with interspecies romance. And the most ridiculous love triangle ever recorded. Alien scholars were confused. Politicians were horrified. The younger generation was taking bets on who would win. And humanity? They were getting their popcorn ready. Because if nothing else, this was going to be hilarious. Weddings are supposed to be a joyous occasion. A celebration of love, a symbol of unity, a completely normal event, right? Not when it's the first ever interspecies wedding in galactic history. Aliens didn't understand the traditions. Some thought it was a war declaration. Others tried to outdo the humans by adding their own bizarre customs. What was supposed to be a simple ceremony turned into an intergalactic diplomatic disaster. Meanwhile, Zix, a purely logical scientist, tried to propose to Evelyn using calculations. Christos and Sophia considered marriage, but it triggered a political scandal. And by the end of it all, the galaxy would never see weddings the same way again. Zix had always believed that love was an anomaly, a strange, irrational concept, one that he never expected to experience. And yet, every time he was around Dr. Evelyn Carter, his crystalline structure flickered in strange, unpredictable ways. His emotional algorithms generated statistical anomalies. And, worst of all, his calculations could not explain it. For weeks, he had been running simulations. He analyzed every known human romantic tradition, every recorded proposal from human history, every statistical probability of Evelyn accepting. The results were clear. The optimal way to ensure Evelyn's long-term companionship was to propose. One evening, under the glow of a distant nebula, Zix approached Evelyn. She was leaning against a railing, gazing at the stars. Evelyn, Zix said, his voice calculatedly steady. Evelyn smirked. What's up, Glowstick? Zix inhaled. I have analyzed our compatibility. The probability of long-term mutual satisfaction is statistically significant. I have therefore concluded that the logical course of action is for us to engage in human marital bonding. Evelyn blinked. Wait, are you proposing? Zix nodded. Yes. The data is clear. He held out a holographic chart. Graph title: Optimal Lifetime Partnership Model. Success rate: 94.73%. Projected happiness quotient: 88.2%. Risk analysis: low. Evelyn stared at the chart. Then back at Zix. Then back at the chart. And then, she burst into laughter. Zix malfunctioned. Did I execute the proposal incorrectly? Evelyn wiped away a tear. Zix, you're adorable, but you don't propose to someone like you're submitting a science paper. Zix's entire crystalline body flickered in distress. But the data. Evelyn leaned forward, gently placing a hand on his chest. Zix, love isn't about numbers, it's about feelings. And trust me, you already have my heart. Sparkling heart. Zix's processors overheated. For the first time in his life, he ignored all statistical probabilities and just felt something. And that was when he finally understood. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Sophia Reyes and Christos had a problem. Their relationship was already controversial. A human and a supreme commander of the Zelian military? The political consequences were massive. And now, someone had leaked that they were considering marriage. The scandal exploded overnight. Galactic tabloids spread rumors. Politicians debated its legality. Both Zelian and human military leaders panicked. This is a conflict of interest. What if their bond shifts military alliances? What if this is part of a secret human plan for dominance? Sophia rolled her eyes. People are acting like we're plotting a coup. We just want to be happy. Christos exhaled. Happiness is dangerous when it threatens the balance of power. Sophia smirked. Then let's really give them something to talk about. And with that, they decided, if the galaxy was going to lose its mind over their love anyway, then they were going to make it official. Humanity's first interspecies wedding was set to take place. Every major civilization in the galaxy sent representatives. The Galactic Council was watching closely. Alien scholars were analyzing the human ceremony. Diplomatic teams were on high alert. What could go wrong? Everything. Because no one had explained weddings properly to the aliens. The Zelthorians, a species that communicated through scent, misinterpreted wedding bouquets as a battle declaration. The Void Crawlers, Vera's species, assumed the wedding vows were a prelude to a blood ritual. The Zelians believed the wedding cake was a sacred relic that must never be eaten. A robotic species attempted to optimize the vows into a legally binding trade agreement. Total chaos erupted. As chaos unfolded, Sophia Reyes took the stage. She grabbed a microphone, silencing the room. All right, listen up. Every species froze. I know this is weird. I know interspecies love is new to a lot of you. But love isn't about logic. It isn't about rules. It's about connection. We're here because, despite all our differences, love found a way, and that is worth celebrating. So put down your diplomatic complaints, and just enjoy the damn party. For a moment, silence. Then, thunderous applause. The music restarted. The cake was eaten. Treaties were rewritten mid-reception. And for the first time in history, the galaxy truly celebrated love. Glowing star. Zix and Evelyn danced under the stars. Christos and Sophia held hands, defying every political expectation. And the galaxy finally accepted that love knew no boundaries. The first intergalactic wedding had been a disaster, but also a triumph. Because love, in the end, always wins. Humanity had awakened. They changed galactic culture. They challenged political structures. They introduced memes and interspecies romance. And not everyone was happy about it. Some factions believed humans were a threat to stability. Some feared their influence would change the balance of power forever. Some just wanted them gone. And now, those factions had made their move. A secret rebellion had begun. An attack was imminent. And the goal? Force humanity back into hibernation, permanently. While the galaxy was still adjusting to humanity's cultural impact, something sinister was brewing behind the scenes. A faction of old guard species, led by a group known as the Preservation League, saw humans as chaotic disruptors who had thrown centuries of carefully maintained stability into madness. They disrupted politics. They turned war into karaoke competitions. They made bureaucrats wear Hawaiian shirts on Fridays. This could not be allowed to continue. So they came up with a plan. We will put them back to sleep. By force, if necessary. And thus, the largest anti-human conspiracy in galactic history was born. The attack came without warning. Explosions rocked human colony ships. Communications were jammed. Fleet movements were scrambled. Entire human settlements were targeted with hibernation weapons, highly advanced pulse generators designed to shut down cryogenic pods and force humans back into stasis. It was a coup, a desperate attempt to fix the galaxy by erasing humanity's presence once again. At the heart of the battle, 4 figures stood together: Christos, Supreme Commander of the Zelian fleet; Sophia, the most formidable human war hero to ever exist; Zix, a scientist who never thought he'd pick up a weapon; Evelyn, a brilliant strategist who saw through every lie. They weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for the very soul of the galaxy. "We have to stop the Preservation League," Sophia said, strapping on her old battle armor. "This is their last desperate move." Christos, standing beside her, nodded. "They've underestimated us. They always do." Sophia smirked. "Let's make them regret it." During the battle, Zix and Evelyn found themselves trapped in a damaged section of a ship. Smoke filled the corridors. Electrical sparks flickered in the air. The fight raged around them. And in that chaotic moment, Evelyn turned to Zix. "You okay, Glowstick?" Zix, normally composed, was flickering wildly. His crystalline form was fluctuating in patterns he couldn't control. For the first time in his entire existence, he didn't rely on logic. For the first time, he felt something deeply and irreversibly real. He reached for her hand. Evelyn blinked in surprise. Zix whispered, "I love you." Evelyn, stunned for half a second, grinned. "Took you long enough, nerd." And then, she pulled him into a kiss as the battle raged around them. While Zix and Evelyn were having their moment, Sophia and Christos faced their own dilemma. The battle was reaching its peak. The Preservation League was collapsing. But not without a final, desperate act. A massive weapon, one capable of disabling human biology permanently, was being powered up. If they didn't stop it in time, humanity wouldn't just be put to sleep. They would never wake up again. Christos turned to Sophia. "We have one shot." Sophia nodded. "We go together." But there was a problem. One of them needed to manually overload the reactor from inside the station. It was a one-way mission. One of them might not come back. Sophia volunteered instantly. Christos refused instantly. "No, I will do it." Sophia's eyes flashed. "You are not pulling the noble sacrifice move on me. You have more to lose." Christos said softly. "So do you," she countered. Silence. Then, they made a decision together. They went in side by side. Sophia and Christos fought through enemy forces. Zix and Evelyn disabled the backup systems. The human fleet launched a final counterattack. In the end, the weapon was destroyed. The Preservation League's coup had failed. Humanity had won. Glowing star. The battle was over. But everything had changed. The Preservation League had collapsed. Humanity wasn't just part of the galaxy anymore. They were its future. And at the heart of it all, 2 love stories had defied all odds. Zix had finally accepted that love was real. Christos and Sophia had survived together. And as the sun rose over a newly unified galaxy, Sophia turned to Christos. "So, what now?" Christos, for the first time in his life, smiled softly. "Now, we live, hand in hand." They walked into a new era. Zix and Evelyn, stronger than ever. Christos and Sophia, standing on the edge of history. Humanity, now an unstoppable force. And then, a single transmission echoed across the stars. "Humanity has stabilized, but we have one final request." What could possibly come next? Humanity had won the war. They secured their place in the galaxy. They reshaped interstellar culture. They even introduced love and memes to the universe. But now, a new crisis had emerged. Humans were getting sleepy again. A transmission was sent across the stars. "We have accomplished our mission. It may be time to rest once more. Would they really go back into hibernation? And what would happen to those who had fallen in love? After months of political victories, cultural shifts, and chaotic diplomacy, humanity had achieved the impossible. They had secured a seat in the Galactic Council. They had successfully defended themselves from extinction. They had established universal Wi-Fi and brought back pizza. But as things settled, something strange started happening. Humans began to yawn more often. Productivity decreased significantly. The phrase, "I need a nap," became a political statement. The universe watched in horror. And then, the official announcement came. Humanity is considering returning to hibernation. Revolving light. Aliens panicked. They're leaving? But they just got here. We just started understanding their jokes. Who's going to run the food delivery service now? Mass protests erupted on dozens of planets. Young alien generations refused to let them go. Entire civilizations declared an anti-sleep movement. One group of aliens literally chained themselves to human colony ships. "We're not letting you go back to sleep." Meanwhile, in the Galactic Council, "We will not allow the humans to abandon us. We need their creativity. We need their chaos." For the first time in galactic history, every major species agreed on one thing. Humanity needed to stay awake. Meanwhile, on a quiet observation deck, Zix stood with Evelyn. The stars shimmered around them. The galaxy was at peace. But Zix was at war with himself. "You're struggling," Evelyn said softly, sipping her drink. "Aren't you?" Zix hesitated. "My entire existence has been built on logic, on order, and yet, you have made me embrace chaos." Evelyn smirked. "You love it." Zix exhaled. "Yes, and I love you." Evelyn froze. Her heart skipped a beat. Zix, the Zelian who had spent his life relying on numbers, had finally admitted his feelings. She smiled. "Then stay." Zix, without hesitation, nodded. He chose to stay awake. He chose love over calculations. He became the first Zelian to permanently reject his species' rigid traditions. And with that choice, he changed intergalactic history. Meanwhile, in the heart of the galactic capital, another decision was being made. Sophia Reyes and Christos faced the council. They stood side by side, their hands intertwined. The council members whispered nervously. "This relationship is a political disaster. The Supreme Commander and a human? It breaks centuries of protocol. It will alter the power dynamics of the universe." Sophia and Christos listened. Then, they turned to each other. Sophia smirked. "What do you think?" Christos tilted his head. "I think we rewrite the rules." And in that moment, they made a choice. They announced their engagement, defying every law, every rule, and every expectation. The universe would have to adapt to them, not the other way around. For the first time, love had changed the course of galactic history. After weeks of debates, protests, and negotiations, humanity made their choice. A final transmission was sent across the stars. "We will return to sleep, but this time, we will leave instructions." The galaxy held its breath. The new universal rule was written. Humanity may enter hibernation, but will set an alarm. Any galactic emergency that requires chaos, humor, or general insanity will wake them. This time, the galaxy is responsible for keeping the coffee stocked. And with that, the greatest social experiment in history came to a close. Zix and Evelyn stayed awake, rewriting what it meant to be in love. Christos and Sophia defied every rule, proving love had no boundaries. Humanity re-entered hibernation, but left the universe forever changed. And just as the galaxy adjusted to life without them, a message appeared in bold red letters. "Wake up sequence initiated in 300 years. The universe panicked. Because now, the only thing more terrifying than a fully awakened human race was knowing exactly when they were coming back. And this time, they were bringing more coffee." Clapperboard. As the final human ship entered cryosleep, Evelyn turned to Zix. "So, what do we do now?" Zix smiled. "We live, hand in hand." They walked toward the future, together. The universe has changed forever. Small diamond. And next time, humanity will return with even bigger plans. The greatest social experiment isn't over, it's just on pause.